I'm Opa, and this is Opa's Place. I'm going to ask you if you're going to watch my videos and you disagree with what my opinions are, keep watching my videos. I've changed my opinions over the years, and it's came from people disagreeing with me or bringing up something I didn't think about. So if you disagree with me on what my opinions are, email me, tell me what your opinion is and why your opinion differs from mine, and I'll discuss it with you. You may change my mind. That's how we learn. We don't have to agree on everything. Probably won't agree on everything. You don't want to shut people out just because they don't agree with what you agree with or you don't agree with what they agree with. That's how we learn. In my book, I talk about how life's in the gray areas. You got the black on this side, and it's a very thin line. You got the white on this side, and it's even a thinner line, probably. And everything we do is in the middle in the gray areas, and that's where your opinions are. So just keep watching, and if you disagree with me, let me know so that we can discuss it. Um, we talked about on the last video whys. There's a bunch of whys. We're going to go over the first why, and that was, why does the government want to disarm the citizens? And there's several reasons, in my opinion, and you got to keep an eye on the government, because a lot of times you're sitting there watching some of the things they do and you're saying they can't be this dumb. And then you got to remember sometimes they're just sly like a fox. They've got a plan. They've got an end that they're trying to get to. And it don't matter, a lot of them, it don't matter how long it takes them to get to that end. But I think for the reasons that they want to disarm the citizens, one of them started at the beginning of the country, Revolutionary War. It was a bunch of farmers mostly. There was some city people, but it was mostly farmers with muskets. And they defeated the biggest army in the world at that time. So the government's thinking, if we didn't have those guns, the British, we never could have beat the British. So maybe the citizens shouldn't have guns. This is the government thinking this now. Another thing is what most people call the Civil War. It really wasn't a civil war. We'll get into that in another video. Y'all may not realize from the way I talk, I'm from the South. And if I got some northern viewers up there, you may have to watch my video a couple of times to understand what I'm saying, or you may have to get you a southern interpreter to till you get used to the way I talk. But down here we call it different words in the Civil War. I'm just going to call it the war between the Union and the Confederacy. We call it other things down here in the South, but we'll stick with that one. And they look back and they think, well, if the Confederacy didn't have guns, if we'd have took all their guns away from them before they seceded from the Union, they couldn't have succeeded. Another one is the Vietnam War. It's not saying anything about the guys who actually fought in Vietnam. Not saying anything about the military. Saying something about the politicians and the higher-ups in the military that made all the decisions. Fought over there for how many years? And it was a bunch of Viet Cong. Most of them were unorganized, running around with AKs in the jungle, and ran us out. And I'm sure the government looks at that and says, darn, man, they were a threat to us, and it was just a bunch of, they were backed a little bit, but it's just a bunch of guys running around the jungle with AKs. Same way in the Middle East. You got a bunch of these factions over there running around with AKs, and how long we've been fighting over there. And but the Constitution, the Second Amendment of the Constitution was not. That's what it was written for. It was written so that the citizens could keep the government in check. We had just finished a war. A bunch of farmers defeating the biggest army in the world at the time. We had just finished that war, so why do you think they put the Second Amendment in there? You hear a politician every now and then want to walk out on that ledge and say that, but that's what it's in the Constitution for, people. And the Founding Fathers were brilliant for putting that in there. Otherwise, I don't know what kind of country we would have today if the Second Amendment wasn't in the Constitution. You look at the statistics, you don't know what's true, what's false, how exactly what the numbers are. But I've read before that there are more hunters in the United States than there are military people in the military in the world. And a lot of hunters are basically a hunter is a sniper, and so they definitely would like to take those guns away from them. Look at Japan when they bombed Pearl Harbor. The Emperor of Japan wanted to attack the mainland of the United States, and what his military people said? They said, "No, man, all them people over there got guns. There's no way we can invade the United States. They've all got guns. There's a gun behind every tree," they said. So they thought twice about that. And I imagine a lot of countries will think twice about that. Hitler, what's the first thing he did? Took the Jews, took everybody's guns. You can control them if they can't defend themselves. Cuba, same way. Venezuela, same way. Look at the American Indians. Took their guns. We'll protect you. Then put them on reservations. Here's what they're scared of. We'll get to that in a minute. Is the number of guns? That's what they're scared of. Now, here's something you might not have realized. I really didn't realize it. Never thought about it. Our country survived 158 years with no gun laws. The first gun law came into effect and was signed into law by FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Used to be at the very top of my list of worst presidents, and I think he might have dropped a few notches over the past few years. But terrible president. That was 90 years ago. We went 158 years with no gun laws. So they came up with this gun law, the National Firearms Act. And what it did, and the reason they did it, was because of the gangsters was killing each other. So they said, well, we'll fix that. You can't have a sawed-off shotgun. You can't have a short barrel rifle. You can't have a machine gun. And you can't have silencers. Well, you can, but you got to buy a $200 stamp from the federal government. And you got to tell us what guns you got, where you keep them, and all that. And we got to be able to inspect them and everything. And how many gangsters you think went out and got one of those paid that $200 tax? I doubt Al Capone and that bunch went out there and bought them a stamp for their machine guns. But that was when gun control began, right there, and it should have been stopped right there, but it wasn't. Now here's the statistics. This is what really scares them. According to a lot of this comes from the CDC. A lot of this was legitimate stuff off the internet. 1 in 3 adults in this country owns at least one gun, is what they say. That's their statistics. I don't think they know how many guns there are, but that's what their statistics are. They say there's 80 million gun owners who own at least one gun in the United States. 80 million out of 350 million. They say there's over 500 million guns owned by citizens in the United States. Just think where we would be if all them guns wasn't out there. How much control the government would have. And here's what brings it all down to earth. They talk about anytime there's a shooting, oh my goodness, we got to take everybody's guns away from them. Guns are killing everybody. In 2022, according to the CDC, 250,000 people were killed by malpractice from doctors. 250,000. 100,000 people died from surgical complications. 40,000 people died in car wrecks. And 19,000 people out of the 350 million died from firearm homicide. They don't break that down, but I'll guarantee you the vast majority of that number is gang related. It's not law-abiding citizens out there with their guns shooting each other. It's either people. It's mostly gang related. I can't find that statistics, but I bet it is, and that's what scares them. Okay, we briefly touched on that, so I want to finish up here. Buy a copy of my book. You can get it on Amazon and Kindle, a digital copy. Things Everyone Should Know According to OPA. If you want a hard copy of the book, email me, opa@opasplace.com. You can order a hard copy. You can get a personalized copy where it says Things Everyone Should Know. It substitutes a name for everyone, so you can give a personalized copy to somebody. We still got 90 degrees weather coming up next week, so If you got dogs and you walk them, if you can't walk on the surface barefooted and your dog don't have shoes on, which I hadn't seen many dogs with shoes on, don't walk the dog on the hot surface. Subscribe, like, and share to my channel. We got to get people thinking. We got to get people to quit just repeating what they see on television, repeating what they read on the internet, and not thinking about what they're saying, not putting any thought into it at all. Got to get them to start critical thinking. That's the only shot we got at saving the Constitution and the Republic. We're going down in flight. This next 2 or 3 months is going to be could be the most critical 2 or 3 months in the history of the country. This thing could, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm an optimistic person, and I'm telling you, either way, this thing could be bad. But I leave you with this. Always apply critical thinking and logic in everything that you do, and always ask people why that's their opinion, and always be able to back up your opinion by answering why. And never give up. We got too many little kids out here. Got little grandkids out here, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old grandkids. Think 50, 60 years from now, what kind of country are they going to get if we don't turn this thing around and get back to where we've got freedom and the government ain't telling us every little thing to do, and just we got to get it back. We're losing it, folks. We got to get it back. So we'll talk about some more things next video. I'll try to do some more videos in the next few days, and just keep checking back on my videos, spread the word, get everybody to thinking. So y'all have a good one.